Noelle Quinn and Christy Sides. I'm not sure that's a pleasant conversation over there. Noelle Quinn, I believe, is upset at Christy Sides for not immediately emptying her bench at that last time out.
Caitlin Clark, the Iowa sensation known for her sharpshooting and fearless play, just called out Noelle Quinn, the head coach of the Seattle Storm, for what can only be described as some disgraceful, thug-like behavior on the court. And when Caitlin Clark talks, people listen. Not just because of her deadly accuracy from three-point range, but because she's become a voice of honesty in a sport that often tries to smooth things over. This time, though, there's no smoothing over the rough edges of Quinn's actions. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The incident unfolded during a heated WNBA game where tensions were already running high. The Storm, led by Quinn, were up against a determined opponent. Clark, never one to shy away from confrontation, had been watching closely. The game was tense, the kind that keeps fans on the edge of their seats. But then, something ugly reared its head. As the camera panned to the sidelines, there was Quinn, caught in the act of what can only be described as blatant unsportsmanlike conduct. It wasn't just a momentary lapse in judgment. It was deliberate, it was nasty, and it was something Clark couldn't let slide. Clark's revelation wasn't just about what happened in that single moment. She exposed a pattern, a tendency in Quinn that had been simmering below the surface but hadn't fully come to light until now. The kind of behavior that's more at home in a barroom brawl than on a professional basketball court. It's the sort of thing that can change the trajectory of a coach's career, tarnishing what could have been an unblemished legacy. For Quinn, the timing couldn't be worse. But let's rewind a bit and get to the root of this. Caitlin Clark is no ordinary player. She's a phantom, a prodigy, who can take over a game with the flick of her wrist, sending basketballs flying through the net from distances that leave even seasoned pros shaking their heads. She's got that rare blend of skill, vision, and grit that makes her a standout in any league, college, or professional. So when she speaks out about something, it's never without reason. Quinn, on the other hand, had been building a reputation of her own in the coaching world. A former player turned coach, she had navigated the tricky transition from the court to the bench with what many considered grace and intelligence. Until now, Quinn's coaching style had often been described as passionate, but there's a fine line between passion and something far less admirable. That line was crossed, and Clark wasn't about to let it go unnoticed. During the game in question, the cameras caught Quinn not just yelling. Coaches yell all the time, but engaging in a kind of intimidation that felt personal. Her eyes narrowed, her gestures sharp and aggressive. There was a moment when she leaned in towards one of her players, her expression darkening, as if to say, "Do it my way or else." It wasn't the typical motivational talk, the kind that gets a player fired up. It was something more sinister, an undercurrent of hostility that had no place in a game that's supposed to be about teamwork and respect. Clark, from her vantage point, saw it all. She saw the way the players on Quinn's team reacted, the flicker of fear that crossed their faces before they quickly masked it with a nod or a forced smile. Clark had been around enough coaches to know when something was off, and this was definitely off. In the post-game press conference, she didn't mince words. With her characteristic bluntness, Clark described what she had witnessed, calling out Quinn's behavior for what it was, thuggish, unacceptable, and a black mark on the integrity of the game. For those who follow the WNBA, Clark's comments were a bombshell. It's not every day that a rising star calls out a coach with the kind of precision that Clark uses when she's draining threes from way beyond the arc. Her words hit hard, leaving no room for misinterpretation. She wasn't just making a statement, she was throwing down the gauntlet, demanding accountability in a league that prides itself on being a beacon of professionalism and respect. The fallout from Clark's expose was immediate. Social media lit up with reactions, fans and analysts alike weighing in on the controversy. Some defended Quinn, suggesting that her behavior was just part of the game, the kind of intensity that comes with the territory. But others, including many of Clark's peers, sided with her, echoing her call for higher standards of conduct. The WNBA itself, always conscious of its image, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight, forced to confront an issue that had been brewing beneath the surface for too long. Quinn, for her part, was quick to issue a statement. It was the kind of canned apology that's become all too familiar in the sports world, full of vague references to miscommunication and passion for the game, but noticeably lacking in direct acknowledgement of what Clark had pointed out. The apology did little to quell the storm, both literally and figuratively. Clark, in her response, was unyielding, refusing to back down or be silenced by what she saw as a weak attempt to sidestep the real issue. The real issue, as Clark saw it, was about more than just one game or one coach. It was about the culture of the sport, the way that certain behaviors are tolerated, even encouraged, under the guise of competitiveness. Clark had seen enough to know that this wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a larger problem, one that needed to be addressed if the WNBA was going to maintain its reputation as a league where respect and integrity are more than just buzzwords. And so the conversation began to shift. What started as a simple post-game interview quickly became a rallying cry for change. Clark's willingness to speak out, to put her own reputation on the line for the sake of calling out what she saw as wrong, earned her even more respect from her fans and peers. It also put the spotlight squarely on Quinn and the Seattle Storm, a team now embroiled in controversy that no one had seen coming. But let's not forget the humor in all this, because there is a certain absurdity to the whole situation. Here's Caitlin Clark, barely out of college, going toe-to-toe with a seasoned coach, calling her out like it's just another day at the office. It's the kind of thing that makes you shake your head and chuckle, not because it's funny in the traditional sense, but because it's so audacious, so completely in character for someone like Clark, who's made a career out of defying expectations. Clark's no stranger to controversy herself, of course. She's been known to talk trash on the court, to get under the skin of her opponents with a well-timed word or a sharp glance. But there's a difference between gamesmanship and the kind of behavior she saw in Quinn. Clark knows the line, and she's careful not to cross it. That's what makes her such a compelling figure, both on and off the court. She plays with fire, but she's always in control, always aware of the bigger picture. In the days following Clark's explosive comments, the debate raged on. Some argued that Clark was out of line, that she should have kept her observations to herself rather than airing them in public. Others, however, saw her as a whistleblower, someone willing to speak truth to power in a way that's all too rare in professional sports. The WNBA, for its part, announced that it would be reviewing the incident, a move that many saw as a direct response to the pressure Clark had put on the league. As for Quinn, her future remains uncertain. The spotlight is on her now, and it's not the kind of attention any coach wants. Whether she'll be able to weather the storm, pun intended, and come out the other side with her reputation intact is anyone's guess. But one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark's not going anywhere. She's proven time and again that she's not just a flash in the pan, but a force to be reckoned with, both on the court and off. In the end, this whole saga might just be another chapter in the long, strange story of professional sports, where egos clashed, tempers flare, and sometimes things get a little out of hand. But it's also a reminder that the people who play and coach these games are human, with all the flaws and imperfections that come with the territory. Clark's willingness to expose those flaws, to shine a light on the darker corners of the sport she loves, is what makes her such a fascinating and important figure. Whether you agree with her methods or not, there's no denying that Caitlin Clark is a player who's changing the game, one three-pointer, and one candid comment at a time. Enjoyed our take on Caitlin Clark exposing Noelle Quinn's behavior? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.